We there? Yeah, right. Right, Judy, could you call the roll call, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Anscombe. Councillor Ashby.
Present.
Councillor Askew. Councillor Atterwill.
Present.
Councillor Bambridge. Councillor Bate.
Present.
Councillor Annie Blackburn. Councillor David Blackburn. Councillor Borrett.
Present.
Councillor Bowes. Councillor Brindle.
Here.
Councillor Marion Chapman-Allen. Councillor Sam Chapman-Allen.
Here.
Councillor Clark. Councillor Clausen. Councillor Cogman. Councillor Cowan.
Here.
Councillor Crane. Councillor Duffield.
Here.
Councillor Eagle. Councillor Fraser. Councillor Gilbert.
Here.
Councillor Harvey.
Here.
Councillor Hewitt.
Here.
Councillor Hunter Clark.
Here.
Councillor Jermy.
Here.
Councillor Kiddell. Councillor Kiddle-Morris.
Here.
Councillor Kybird.
Here.
Councillor Land. Councillor McCambridge. Councillor Monument. Councillor Morton. Councillor Nunn. Councillor O'Callaghan. Councillor Oliver. Councillor Plummer. Councillor Richmond. Councillor Sherwood. Councillor Suggett. Councillor Samantha Taylor. Councillor Sarah Taylor. Councillor Taylor Taylor. Councillor Terry. Councillor Turner. Councillor Webb. Councillor Wickerson. Councillor Wilkin. And Councillor Wilkinson.
Are there any apologies, please?
Thank you, Chairman. I have apologies from Councillor Bambridge, Councillor David Blackburn, Councillor Bowes, Councillor Clark, Councillor Eagle, Councillor Kiddell, Councillor Land, Councillor McCambridge, Councillor Sherwood and Councillor Turner.
Thank you. So item 2, are you happy to agree? I'm sorry, any more apologies? Any more? No, thank you. So we move on to number 2. Are members happy to agree the minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of October 2024? They can be found on pages 4 to 19 of your agenda pack. Great. All in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? No, thank you. So declarations of interest. Have any members got any declarations of interest to declare? No, if you do find that you have an interest as we go through, please declare it then. Right, so next one is Chairman's announcements. I've just got a couple. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate the winners of the Breckland Awards, the members of staff. That was absolutely brilliant. So congratulations to all of them. And they actually raised an amazing £677 for our charities. And also the staff held a raffle and raised another £658 for our charities. So I think we have a great team here. So congratulations, Team Breckland. Thank you. The next thing, I hope you will join me at the end of the meeting for some mince pies and mulled wine. There is alcoholic and non-alcoholic wine. And for those of you who don't like mince pies or don't eat suet, I have made a few, it's only 12, quince meat pies for those. So I baked them this morning, so they are nice and fresh. And on that festive note, I do have a question. Question for council. Oh, well done. The money. Yeah. Yeah. If mine goes off, that'll be fine because it's in the car. But thank you very much for that. Yeah. On that festive note, I do have a question. Question for Councillor Wilkin. How many sleeps till Christmas?
I've been up and down so many
For those who don't understand, at every planning committee, Nigel tells us how many sleeps there are till Christmas. Yeah. And also, lastly, I'd like to congratulate Councillor Cogman on your elevation to the peerage. Not quite. Congratulations on taking over as leader of the Labour Group. Right, that is all my announcements. Where are we? Leaders' announcements. Over to you, Sam.
Lovely, thank you, Chairman, and I'd like to echo your welcome to Councillor Cogman to her place as leader of the Breckland Labour Group. I hope that we'll continue in that really positive professional way which your predecessors, both Councillor Clark and Councillor Jeremy, have demonstrated over my time as leader, quite rightly holding me and my executive colleagues to account, but ensuring that actually we're delivering the services our residents and business expect day in, day out across the fantastic district of Breckland. Chairman, there are three areas I want to pick up today. First, I'd like to start off with LGR devolution and the local government finance settlement. To begin with, Chairman, I think it's important that all members have an update on the English devolution white paper, the source of much press speculation over the past few weeks, some frustration in some core areas, but of great concern to residents and, more importantly, staff within this council. Unfortunately, Chairman, the details I'm unable to share because they are scant. The government has not yet published anything in concrete, but we are told the white paper will be landing before Christmas, expected on Monday, the 16th of December. So we need to hold fast a little longer before we can respond properly as a council and give instructions to our chief executive as to how to engage through this process. The white paper is expected to present the government's vision around devolution and what we expect this to be for a twin-track approach around the possibility of local government reorganisation. I'm aware that numerous news reports, articles and commentary have speculated about its contents, but at this stage, the amount of what we do know is merely speculation. Clearly, however, the new music suggests that government could be looking to make significant changes to how we operate and support our residents and businesses within local government. Clearly, we're engaging furiously behind the scenes to ensure that local government is well represented through the white paper when it lands within the Houses of Parliament this side of Christmas. And we should, Chairman, be immensely proud of 50 years' history of Breckland District Council and district councils. Their ambition, innovation, adaptation, and the ability to be agile and flexible when our country, but more importantly, our residents and businesses need it most, was forefront during the pandemic. And we can't lose sight of how local government is local. I will personally, Chairman, resist any suggestions that a two-tier model is broken. It's quite the opposite. This has been demonstrated time and time again that we can deliver the most effective services which our residents and businesses require, but more importantly, ensuring that local democracy and democratic accountability prevails. Chairman, I look forward further to the publication and working with colleagues across all sides of this council chamber to ensure that our residents' needs are met in that process, whether that is around the county, not just in Norfolk, but into our colleagues, whether that is into Suffolk, around the wider devolution agenda. Mr. Chairman, in a similar context, there is a growing reason to be concerned about some of the policy approaches the government has taken in recent weeks. We've seen the advanced policy statement for the budget, still waiting for that provisional settlement, and I must say this is probably one of the most nerving times I've had as leader, in which there is so much speculation still to be heard around the future local government finance settlement. Whilst we still await those final details, possibly expected on the 19th of December, Merry Christmas, Breckland, I'm concerned that areas which have already been announced, such as the Rural Services Delivery Grant, will be abolished. This much needed service provides that support to rural councils, but more importantly, our rural businesses and rural residents. That will see tens of thousands of pounds stripped from our budget as we move forward, moving into what is being called deprivation grant support, in which I believe if the previous data metric set is used, Breckland will not be at the forefront of where that money is needed. And I know that many members of this council have supported us in ensuring that data metrics reflects the deprivation, not just across the district, but in those small pockets within our communities. Chairman, around section 2, I want to just pick up around car parking. And this is a really important matter for all of us across the chamber. Over the past 5 to 6 weeks, Breckland officers and members have been out working our communities to understand the proposals being put forward around any changes to car parkings. These have been through pop-up sessions within our market towns. We've had the opportunity to talk to residents and businesses, but held dedicated bespoke sessions for parish, district and county councillors around their specific market towns which they represent. As you know, there's been a huge amount of disinformation out there around our proposals, and we've sought to try and sow those seeds of doubt and worry and put them to bed to try and reassure the public that no formal decision around what the final structure and how we're going to use our car parks is as we move forward into 2025. The engagement levels, Chairman, have been fantastic. We've seen hundreds of people come and talk to us, either through the questions they've asked and our ability to answer them, or just raise their views and their concerns around what this may mean for them, their business, their community as we move forward. Over 3,000 residents and businesses have now completed the consultation survey, either online or in hard copy. And I'd like to thank each and every single one of those residents and businesses who have participated through this process. And I'd like to also, Chairman, just place on record my thanks to officers of this council who have been out and volunteered their time to make sure that we're able to start that conversation through this very important process. For them, it wasn't an easy part of their role, but they did it diligently, ensuring that every resident and business had the opportunity to raise their concerns and ask relevant questions. And finally, Chairman, I just want to move around to the preventive agenda, particularly this time of year, as many of us will be at home with our friends and family, to remember that there will be others across this county, but more importantly, our district and our communities who will be less fortunate than ourselves. Chairman, we are, as a council, I believe, still punching above our weight around the preventative agenda. I was really pleased to see the official opening of the link at the Breckland Business Centre in Dereham last week, joined by many members of this council. Developed in partnership with Norfolk and Waveney Mind and Breckland Council, shows how we can turn services into reality in true partnership. The link united various public and voluntary partners into the single hub. This brings together organisations such as the Boost programme, the Citizens Advice, Department for Work and Pension, Nova Training, the National Health Service Talking Therapies, Norfolk and Waveney Mind, and of course, all Breckland Council services under one roof, providing that one-stop shop and that bespoke wraparound for any resident who needs it. And of course, we want to expand this further and add further partners in this programme. Initially, the programme will operate on a referral basis only. However, it will allow Breckland and its partners to better assist those in need, especially our most vulnerable residents. By consolidating this multi-service into a single hub, we can more effectively address those interconnected issues. The link is a testament, Chairman, once again to Breckland's innovation and demonstrates our collaborative approach and how partners want to do business with us to make sure we're delivering for all of our community across the district. This is further evidence, Chairman, that this council is ideally placed to deliver that preventative agenda, mindful of what I said in my opening statement around the future of local government reorganisation. We are closest to our communities, have built that strong local connections over many years. We are the ears on the ground and know every community leader across our district to understand how we can support our residents most in need. I'm pleased to see, Chairman, in the recent autumn statement, though, that additional funding for localities around the Disabled Facilities Grant of £86 million, totalling £233 million across the agenda, particularly around the preventative for homelessness. We as a council will still be at the forefront for every resident who needs us most, whenever that is and wherever that is. And Chairman, as we come to an end of 2024, can I say a huge thank you to members of this council for what you do day in, day out, supporting your residents and businesses, whether that's around positions of council policy, but more importantly, that casework, which very rarely goes noticed. But more importantly, Chairman, to the officers of this council who support us, but more importantly, the residents across this district when they need it most, but delivering those vital services and those services which some residents never need to complain about, such as our waste service, which is fantastic. And I thank them and everyone else. And Chairman, I wish all members of this council and our residents a very Merry Christmas and a prosperous and Happy New Year.
Right. Thank you, Sam. Item 6, questions under notice. We have none. Must be the festive spirit breaking out. But it brings us on to question number 7, questions without notice. The first one, Councillor Cogman.
Thank you. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for welcoming me into my role, and I'm looking forward to working with you all into 2025 and beyond. My first question, I think it's to you, Sam. How is the success of the Breckland magazine measured and evaluated? Thank you.
Thanks, Chairman. So the success of our magazine, we do an annual resident survey, and you'll notice when we did the last survey in 2022, it was valued as the most appropriate channel for residents to want to understand the services Breckland delivers, but how to engage with that service provision. We're just at the point now of getting ready to undertake another resident survey as we move forward. I've set the wicked challenge as we move forward around some of the wider challenges of how we deliver service for our residents, around some citizens' assemblies around bespoke areas. And if you've got concerns around the Residents magazine, I'm more than happy for us to look at that as we move forward. But I believe it is an immensely useful tool which goes to every resident and ensures that they understand how their council is supporting them and delivering the services which they value and need.
Sorry? Okay, I've got Councillor Atwill.
Yeah. Councillor Atwill next, please.
Thank you. My question's to Sam. Breckworld app apparently cost this council £90,000 and is now defunct. Shop Appy app cost £60,000, so a total of £150,000. Can the leader explain why this was good value for money for Breckland taxpayers?
Thanks, Councillor Ashwell. So I guess there's two parts to this. If you and other members have concerns around any programmes activities, I would encourage you all to call these into scrutiny, where actually we can get a really fulsome debate and understand it. I think that actually there are two parts. One around the Shop Appy was a national organisation kick-started in Yorkshire, and we had the opportunity in Breckland to purchase that platform and encourage businesses to move forward with it. Other councils in Norfolk also signed up to it. You'll be cognizant and aware that actually our market towns across the country have their individual unique challenges and problems, and Breckland had the opportunity through some of our financial flexibility to lift and shift some of those successes in other parts of the country to try and ensure that our high streets are vibrant places. I don't think at any point we should be chastised for trying new things. And actually this was a proven platform as we move forward. Sadly, it wasn't taken up across the market towns in the way we want, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't innovate. It doesn't mean we shouldn't attempt to support our market towns, because our 5 market towns are the hearts and soul of all of our communities as we move forward. In relation to Breckworld, you'll be aware that that was launched in February 2019. A young man, dear man, I know that he went to a school in which someone in this room is close to their heart, came to us for a proposal. And actually, I know, Roger, you're a very hip-hop individual and be aware of something such as Pokemon Go. We were the pioneers of that future technology moving forward, that ability to use interactive phone accessibility to understand how your community's interacted. And of course, we use the Breckland stars to go collect to get your free coffee and stuff. The Pokemon Go platform then used that to understand how you could go chase Pokemon down the high street. I'm sure that's something you'd be delighted to do, and I look forward to seeing you in Deerham over these coming weeks and months. But sadly, that was launched in 2019, and of course, some 12 months later, we were locked down into a pandemic, and therefore the Breckworld app was not able to realise its full potential. I don't think, once again, that actually our ability to bring leisure and tourism to life across our district, and actually we had colleagues from the Ancient House Museum in Thetford who had buoyed up by the fact that we were bringing our assets and our community facilities to life, should be once again chastised. I think actually we should be applauded for trying to allow young businessmen, which we did, to come with an innovative idea and try and launch their platform moving forward. I absolutely acknowledge there are lessons to be learnt from that process, and actually how we can ensure as we move forward that those successes are realised. Shop Appy, stand fast, it was not what it should have been, but I think Breckworld still has a good future ahead of us, and we are in negotiations and dialogue with that individual to see actually where, if and how his platform with Breckworld can move to the next stage to ensure that all of our market towns can see those benefit realisations. And I look forward to building on those successes, particularly around the Swaffham Heritage Action Zone, which saw some of that success from what we did with Breckworld.
Councillor Callaghan, please.
Sorry, another one for Sam, I believe, unless he'd like to delegate it. I've learned recently that the Akash restaurant in Dereham, that Breckland District Council have been chastened for improvements, has been sold or transferred to a family member. Please could I ask for a general update and what repercussions it could have on the court order? Thank you.
Chairman, I know a lot about lots of things, but not all the detail to the Akash, but I do know that the Cabinet member responsible has a better grasp of that information, Chairman, so I'll refer to Councillor Suggett.
Thank you. It is short and sweet because it is part of an ongoing process, but we as the council are on site and we're carrying out work to ensure that the building is watertight and secure. The cost of this will be placed as a charge on the property and recovered from the owners of the building following the successful magistrate ruling in October this year. Lots of those bits and pieces, what you've just alluded to, the team will be working through. But obviously that is the process and that is where we're currently at with the Akash. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Webb, please.
It was the same question, so it's,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
fine, it's done. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Terry, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's a question for Councillor Crane. Many of the issues associated with biodiversity and safeguarding our environment needs to be helped by other organisations. With Breckland declaring a climate emergency on the 19th of September 2019, can we have an update on the partnerships that Breckland are working with to ensure we are fulfilling our role in protecting and enhancing biodiversity?
Thank you, Councillor Terry, for that question. We will do work with partners. We've got the Norfolk Climate Change Partnership that we're part of, and then they go out to wider organisations. You will see on the overview and scrutiny agenda for the 19th of this month that my portfolio is being brought to that, and that will be a substantial part of it. So if you can't attend, or if you've got any questions that you want brought up and to make sure I cover for that, please do. And it will be online, so you can watch it and come back to me. Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Taylor. Yeah.
Thank you. A question for Councillor Ashby, please. Councillor Ashby, can you please share with members how the council has supported the delivery of new youth and SEND provision in Attleborough?
Thanks, Councillor Taylor. Absolutely. As part of the Inspiring Communities programme, we've got the match funding, which is going to close for round 3 tomorrow for anybody who wants to get an application in or push for that. Received an application from Attleborough Town Council as part of round 2 for some provision of youth and SEND, which we were very, very happy to support as a panel. In addition to that, there was a 5 market towns meeting a few weeks ago, of which the other market towns are very interested to know what Attleborough were doing, and it would appear they're leading the way on this. Would be very happy to have any communications from anyone about expanding or setting up youth provision or SEND provision in your local area, because it's something that the district definitely needs and has so many benefits to the youth of this district. So thank you for the question.
Yeah, just before I take you, Councillor Barrett, some people have motioned that they can't hear some of the questions and answers. So although you've got microphones, can you make sure that you're close to them and try speaking up, please? Yeah, that will help. Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a question for the leader. He talked about the Rural Services Grant and that it's proposed that that be withdrawn. It is absolutely crucial. Would the leader not agree with me? Sorry. It is absolutely crucial, the Rural Services Grant, to reflect that in areas like Breckland, where with a sparse rural population, it is much more difficult to deliver services because of the geographical spread. And that was the whole reason the Rural Services Grant was formed, to make it fair for rural areas trying to deliver services compared to densely populated urban areas where distance, in fact, the entire London borough would fit into a tiny corner of Breckland. The government is saying that they're looking at the deprivation index. I understand that part of that is car ownership. Now, if this isn't a blatant attempt to move money from rural areas into towns, then I don't know what is. It is impossible to live in rural Breckland without a car, but if you live in the centre of London, then you don't need a car. And I think that if you are going to look at deprivation based on all these sorts of criteria, then you're not sensible about protecting services in rural areas. Actually, this is about moving money from rural areas into towns. And I would be very keen to hear what the leader has to say about that.
Thanks, Chairman. It is immensely concerning. This will be, as I said earlier, tens of hundreds of thousands of pounds for this council, protecting our frontline services of how we deliver that. Once that settlement arrives on the 19th, I will be writing to both our members of parliament to make them aware of the ramifications of this most recent settlement. I think proportionality for districts, this will be probably the worst settlement we've had in many years. We will have to deliver a balanced budget. We're mandated to do so, unlike other public service delivery models. But I think you're absolutely right that the intrinsic link of where they're trying to see around the deprivation grant moving forward actually will ensure that places such as us aren't successful with getting that deprivation money into the areas which we need it, particularly in some of our most rural areas.
Yeah, Councillor Samantha Taylor. So many Taylors.
Although I'm slightly biased, I would like to ask the leader a question. Would you join me in congratulating Councillor Taylor on her nominations for the LGIU Community Councillor Champion Award? She was shortlisted and was up against the likes of Liverpool City Council and Wolverhampton City Council in her category. And it really just highlighted what a small little district can do when it's up against the big boys. Yeah.
Thanks, and this isn't a party political piece. All of you across the district do fantastic things within your communities, but I know that Councillor Taylor is front and centre in the community of Attleborough, come rain or shine, whether she's wading through feet of water, supporting those flood victims, ensuring that the flower beds across the market town are looking vibrant to be a really proud, welcoming place, or more importantly, making sure that local services such as youth provision and SEND are delivered at a hyper-local level, ensuring that public sector budgets, town, district and county councillors are reverted and put into that place. The LGIU is a fantastic organisation which recognises those hidden champions, and many congratulations to you for your nomination, and I hope to see many more councillors across Breckland and organisations such as Breckland and District Services recommended for future awards.
Yeah, thank you. And I'd like to add my congratulations to you as well. And it was very good that you was able to go as the vice chairman in my place. That was very good, very apt. Thank you. For nobody else, we come back to Councillor Atterwell, please. Oh, sorry. Councillor Kybird first, sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. Would the leader care to comment on the latest proposals from the Local Government Boundary Commission for England? Thank you.
Not overly, Councillor Kybird, because I'm immensely disappointed with their response. I just want to thank members of this council, Councillor Jeremy, Councillor Atterwell, Councillor Borrett, Clausen and Suggett for their hard work, and all members of this council who scrutinised that document before council recommendation. I think that the Local Boundary Commission have completely missed the challenges of a rural district council and those localities, particularly in some of our market towns such as Swaffham and others, and some of their evidence they provided around the road network and the ability and ease to travel, I think is laudable. I would encourage all members of this council to read the document if you haven't already. Please make your own individual representation. The working group, as those names I mentioned, will be coming together to form our formal council position to put back to you to see if this council wishes to make its full submission. But I think it's once again disappointing that the Boundary Commission has not taken local views and local data sets into account.
Councillor Jeremy.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Kybird stole my question, I wonder if the leader would agree with me that it's time we looked at the remit of the Boundary Commission, where they can so easily dismiss a very well-considered proposal using local knowledge and experience and data-driven. Having reviewed the proposals, I'm incredibly frustrated that the very hard work that we put in as a council has been so easily dismissed. And I wonder if there's a cost to the work that we put in, an actual cost and an officer cost time, because it was a detailed process, which on the face of it seems to have counted for very little.
Wholeheartedly agree, and as a quadruple hatter, I'd be delighted to work with you in any one of your capacities to ensure that we lobby to understand what the future and the necessity of that organisation is.
Right, so back to Councillor Atterwell, please.
Thank you, Chairman. My question's for Councillor Hewitt. Councillor Hewitt, can you confirm if an independent valuation has been carried out for the development value of the open space on the Abbey Estate in Thetford, which Breckland Council owns? Flagship Housing last year reported a 19% increase in its operating surplus, which stood at £93.6 million. Given the current black hole in this council's budget, does he not think that Breckland taxpayers deserve to receive the maximum financial return for the sale of this asset?
Thank you, Councillor Attewell. No, we have not carried out an independent value because, as you probably are, you might not be aware that whole process around the Abbey estate has now been paused. As and when the process is picked up again, then no doubt that might well be a particular stage that we would do. But I also just need to raise something else, if I may. With respect, it's not all about money. Some of the investments that we make in our market towns actually are to help regenerate those market towns to make them better and more vibrant places to live. And in that context, I think it's right sometimes that we have a look at the bigger picture in terms of regeneration and not just pounds, shillings and pence. You are right, we have got a very severe budget challenge moving forwards. You are right that as a rule, and you will know, and we'll see this later on when we actually look at our new asset strategy for property moving forwards, that where we can, we will always try to seek some type of financial redress to make sure that all Breckland taxpayers benefit. But when we also look at situations where our largest market town, an area of great deprivation by so many people, is seen, when we can seek to improve that for the benefit of everyone, we will do that without necessarily just looking at pure monetary value.
Thank you. I understand the leader would like to make a comment on this.
Thank you, Chairman. And I know this is an important issue for those residents, and therefore, just to expand on Councillor Hewitt's point, part one, it's not paused. They're just going through the process. There is an extension, so there's a delay, but he's absolutely right. This council has made the decision through the MOU, in which I responded to Councillor Brindle some time ago, that once it goes to committee and the committee's made its decision independent and impartially, and then a formal request comes to this council around the future land holdings, then this council can make a decision around the request itself and not the predetermination risk of those councils refusing any land sale, land transfer, or anything in between, and also then sit in that space around the planning committee. So it made a really clear process that will allow the planning committee to do what it needs to do. And in response to my question to Councillor Brindle some months ago, when we get that formal request, if that application is approved or refused, we will then make a decision around what we do with the future land holdings within the Abbey estate as this council, particularly through the asset strategy, which is later on the agenda today, but Councillor Hewitt reverts to in his initial response. I hope that's clearer for... Yeah, thank you.
No, there are no further questions. I was raised the hand. Oh, Councillor Kyburd.
Thank you. One of the properties on the asset register is Ancient House Museum in Thetford, and I would like the leader to join me in congratulating them on their 100th anniversary occurring next week on the 11th of December.
Thank you. I know that the Mayor, Councillor Chris Harvey, is delighted to the success of the Ancient House Museum, and all of those Thetford members and yourself and me as Thetford district members. We're really pleased to be able to work in partnership with the Ancient House Museum over many years of its longevity, and actually the work which we're doing as we move forward to ensure that that asset in the heart of Thetford goes from strength to strength.
Councillor Attewell again, please.
Thank you, Chairman. This one's for Councillor Suggett, if I may. Sarah, could you give us an update, please, on where we currently are with the new planning portal? I've received complaints from parishes in my ward that they're not receiving notifications. I don't believe all the data has been transferred across from the old portal to the new. We do seem to have some ongoing problems with it, and I think that'd be appreciated by all members in this chamber if we can have an update on when we can expect the final polished article to work for us. Thank you.
Thank you. And I thought this would come up, so I do have a little statement. The planning module went live on the 27th of November, and this followed an intensive period of work between IDOCS and our offices to resolve some identified issues within the system. Officers have been able to access the live system for around 4 weeks, and many of the officers within the development management team have been working with technical support team to register applicants caught up in the backlog. And over the last 2 weeks, the backlog has reduced from 170 applications to around 90 applications. And I would like to thank the officers for all their hard work in addressing the issues in the system and working to address this backlog. Understandably, officers have been focusing on getting the system right and reducing this backlog. And officers will, however, have to move back shortly into their main roles in determining applications, and the clearance rate will slow down. But given the current focus, we have not been able to provide the substantive guidance to members and parish and town councils that we would have liked to have done. We're working on that at present, and we're hoping to circulate something around that next week. And I am grateful for your patience, everybody, whilst we do this. The building control module went live on the 21st of October, which was on schedule, and it's anticipated that the land charges module will go live on the 9th of December, which is also on schedule. But if there is anything further or more specific, like the comment that you've raised about, some parishes that perhaps aren't picking things up, I'm happy to have a chat with anybody or pick anything like that up with anybody afterwards. But thank you for raising that.
Thank you. There are no more questions. We move on to item 8, which is the committee minutes. If a member does have any questions on the minutes as we go through, please raise your hand when we come to that one, please. The first one is Cabinet on the 11th of November 2024. Are any questions? You're pleased to accept these minutes? You go to next one is Overview and Scrutiny Commission. Has anybody got any questions on this? Are you happy to accept the minutes? General Purposes Committee of 1st of October. Are there any questions? Are you happy to accept these minutes? The Licensing Committee of the 6th of November. Are there any questions? Are you happy to accept these minutes? The Committee of the Licensing Authority. Also on the 6th of November. Are there any questions? No? Are you happy to accept these minutes? The Planning Committee of the 22nd of October. Are there any questions? No? Are you happy to accept these minutes? And finally, the Planning Committee of the 19th of November. Are there any questions? Are you happy to accept these minutes? Right, thank you very much. Brings us on to item 9. That was quick, wasn't it? The Necton Neighbourhood Plan. And Councillor Suggett, you are going to present this item, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to present to members this morning the neighbourhood plan. As I explained at Cabinet back in November, the independent examination was held in February 2024, and the examiner found that the plan met the basic conditions and recommended it process to the referendum. And this referendum was held on the 12th of September, and 77% of the voters who participated in that supported the plan. This is endorsement of the hard work and commitment from the Neighbourhood Plan Group. Neighbourhood plans are developed by volunteers and local people who have an interest in how their neighbourhood is developed, and it was really great that so many people got involved with this one. So following that recommendation from Cabinet, I would like to recommend to Cabinet this morning that we amend Breckland District Policies Map to meet the requirements of paragraph 9 of the Town and Country Local Plan in England Regulations 2012. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, Councillor Wilkin.
Thank you, Chairman. Every parish within the district is completely different, but the nature of Necton as a whole is that it was at one time a very small village that sold off a bit of land to a developer, and then someone else sold a bit of land. It's one of those things where now we're actually stretched to our boundaries, but there's always little bits coming up, little bits that need to be infilled, and people are always concerned. And it always worries me that in some instances, neighbourhood plans initially seemed like a chart of a NIMBYism, but actually having been involved in the early stages of this and seeing the work that's gone into it and the breadth of feeling that it's not just about building houses, it is about building a community and bringing everything together, then I fully congratulate all those that took part from Necton and from Breckland and all the staff and officers to present this, and the receipt of congratulations from Cabinet onwards. And I thoroughly recommend that this goes forward for approval. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkin. I think you and I shared some of the same concerns when it first came out. But I think we were both in the end on side with it, as I was involved in the Watton one. Councillor Banbridge.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to join in congratulating Necton. I think it's always good when a parish does take upon itself to become a parish with a local development plan and a plan for entire living in the parish. And so I do congratulate Necton. I think it's doing very well.
Thank you. Any more comments or questions on this? No? In that case, the recommendation has been read to you. Are you all in favour of the recommendation? Three. I think that is unanimous. Anyone against? Any abstentions? No, I think that was unanimous then. Thank you. Brings us on to item 10, property asset strategy. I'll hand over to Councillor Hewitt for this, please.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, members, I'm delighted to present for adoption by this council our proposed property strategy that covers the period 2024 through 2030. This strategy has previously been presented to Overview and Scrutiny Commission and also to Cabinet, with few substantive amendments made. Before us, members, is a principles-based, forward-looking, dynamic, yet pragmatic strategy that reflects a clear ambition for this council in difficult circumstances. The headwinds facing this council, some of which have been talked to already this morning, ranging from the cost of living, nutrient neutrality, biodiversity net gain, 2035 targets, all pose issues for our residents and present strategic challenges to our work as a council moving forwards. Our corporate plan, our financial plan, our budgetary priorities all seek to enable our businesses and our residents to thrive, and this property strategy plays a key role in addressing all of those priorities and challenges. It has been no easy task, but as usual, the property team has delivered and promoted a strategy that punches above its weight, providing a clear and transparent framework that gives clarity to both the council and to our residents, whilst at the same time being pragmatic and agile enough to respond to changing circumstances or emerging risks and opportunities should they arise. With your permission, Chair, as this new policy gets discussed, I do have, I can see in the corner, our commercial property and estates manager, who may be able to answer any specific questions that I cannot answer myself. But in presenting and making this recommendation to you, the recommendation being that this council adopts the new property strategy 2024 through 2030, optimising our property estate, and delegates to the Deputy Chief Executive in consultation with the Deputy Leader and Executive Member to update this document as required. In making those recommendations, I'm recommending a strategy that will firstly enhance the quality of life for our residents and our communities by creating vibrant spaces, by supporting local communities and providing essential services. But not only that, the strategy will help strengthen our financial position as a council by generating revenue, the revenue that we need to help fund essential services, invest in our communities' futures, and seek to avoid those costs that may prevent otherwise future investment. And finally, this strategy, which will build a sustainable Breckland, where our property assets are as environmentally friendly as possible and fit for the purpose for generations to come. Chair, I propose the recommendation.
Thank you. We have some questions. No questions? No, we have. There's Councillor Taylor. Councillor Jeremy.
Thank you, Chair. So I've been reading this with interest. My question relates to the policy statements on page 124 of the agenda pack, so page 8 of the policy. Within the property interest section, it says we will only hold property interest that will directly or indirectly support the delivery of the council's strategic aims and objectives. That strikes me as being a particularly low bar, given that the stated intent is for revenue. Could you please let us have some ideas of what sorts of property would not be entered into using that test?
Thank you, Councillor. And I think it is important to make sure that any unreasonable expectations are met within a policy such as this. You raise an interesting question. Do we have a strategy that is purely financially driven, or do we have a strategy that balances the needs both of our financial requirements as a council and the needs of our residents as a council moving forwards? And at face value, these are not easy bedfellows, because they can always be in opposition. The pragmatic strategy that I'm keen to promote does enable us to do both. On occasions, we will be investing for the sake of our communities and the benefit of our communities moving forwards, but I don't want to be too constrained by saying we have to meet a particular financial target or a financial hurdle, otherwise that investment will not happen. At the last council meeting, you may recall, we took an investment as a council to invest in a significant employer within Thetford. I was disappointed that members opposite me didn't support that investment in place, but that investment would have both generated employment opportunities and also generated a financial return to the wider taxpayers within this district. I'm pleased that that investment decision is progressing and progressing well, but at the same time, that would be the type of investment that allows us, to use an expression, to have our cake and eat it at the same time. It's not a low bar, it is an agile bar, and it allows us to meet the requirements of all of our residents moving forwards.
Thank you. Councillor Jeremy.
Thank you, Chairman. Not a question as much, but a comment. And firstly, can I just say how much respect I have for the property team at the council. I do think we are fortunate to have such a talented group that looking after our sort of property portfolio. I am concerned at the strategy, however, and I watched the scrutiny meeting, the endurance sport day that was. I think I managed to get to the end of that meeting. So I listened to the introduction and the overview at that point. My concern is around the culture of this council, and I think inevitably when you have a one-party majority, my concern is the weakness around engagement with all members, and particularly with members of the public when it comes to council assets. And I look back to discussions about small sites in areas like Dereham, areas like Thetford, where concerns were raised, which I don't think were treated with the seriousness that they demanded. I look at the way this council has managed car parking charges. Frankly, it's been a mess over the last few months, and I don't think members and the public have been treated with respect in that process. And we've heard earlier about the Abbey estate and the concerns, and it just seems to be a very disjointed process where we have the cost and the time and the stress related to the planning permission process, and then we will start to have a conversation about whether we give land away for free or not. It seems to be a sort of odd way round to me. So as much as I have respect for the team and the sort of broad thrust of the way it's going and the way the strategy is going, I am concerned about the culture. We have very little power, and it's not just as opposition members. I know that some members of the of all groups, frankly, have concerns about their input in these things. So although I have very little power in a cabinet system to impact decision making, I'm certainly not going to be adding my voice and my vote to support a strategy which adds to this sort of culture of lack of engagement, lack of respect for individual members and different points of view.
Thank you. Councillor Borrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, that was an eye-opener, wasn't it? Being lectured on a one-party majority by Terry Jeremy MP. That the idea that when you have a majority, you do what you want. I mean, I wonder that a number of farmers might have a very similar opinion, Mr. Jeremy, of your situation in Parliament. So I think the pots and kettles is something that springs to mind after that little speech. I think this is a fantastic piece of work, and it builds on what Breckland has been doing for many years, and that is delivering value and services for our residents in a way that no other council has been able to do in Norfolk. We raise more money from our commercial property portfolio to support services than we take out of the pocket of our residents through council tax. This strategy is really important, and we should all be supporting this, because if you don't support this and we don't have a decent property strategy, then the only alternative is to put council tax up massively to replace what we're doing. So I'd be very interested to see who votes for this strategy and who votes against it. It is really important. The only reason that we're able to take a lot of the decisions we can about protecting services is because we have this income. And we have a property team that have been very fleet of foot. And as the Cabinet member says, we've invested in commercial space in Breckland to keep employers here, to keep businesses in Breckland paying business rates and providing employment for our residents, that if Breckland hadn't stepped in to do that, these jobs wouldn't be here. So we get the double benefit of the income from the businesses, but our residents get the benefit of the rent spent on their services, but they also get the jobs and things that protect our communities here. So I think of all of the things that have come past us today, this is the crucial one. This is the thing we should be supporting. And I, for one, endorse all the hard work that the team, the property team and the Cabinet member and the leadership that Cabinet have given on saying that this is important and this should be delivered. So I have no hesitation in supporting it.
Thank you. Councillor Sarah Taylor, you wish to come back?
Thank you. So, Councillor Hewitt, if I understand your response correctly, I think the answer to my question with regards the property aspect is no. There is no type of property that the council would not buy, which on the one hand is useful, because I agree having some agility in that space is helpful. But my concern is around the lack of a test, which relates then to the policy context that the council is working in. And that concerns me, not least around the priorities on the preceding page, in which, frankly, the wider kind of delivery of services and the opportunity for this policy to directly relate to that, rather than just purely through a revenue stream, seems to be missed. So I think I'm quoting Councillor Suggett correctly here, but happy to stand corrected if not. I believe in the last council meeting, Councillor, you said that housing and dealing with homelessness specifically was of greatest importance to the council. But within this policy, it's only got one page. And whilst I acknowledge that the assets are going up with respect to residential, I'm concerned that there's a really substantial opportunity being missed within this policy. So as it stands, I can't support it. Whilst I welcome the policy, I welcome the development of the policy, but I do strongly feel that the opportunity cost of this is substantive, and it should have some greater attention paid.
You wish to come back?
Can I say that when leaders of our community rubbish our community and the efforts of those within the community to try to build things up, that is disappointing. I don't inhabit a world where I can just go out after a few weeks consultation and put council tax up by £50 because I can. I don't inhabit a world where I can print money and remove services from millions of people because I can. We inhabit a world in the here and now where we are in a limited financial position, where we will try to do everything we can to meet a very simple objective. There is, by the way, Councillor, a property investment matrix, if you were to go to the appendix, to work out exactly the grounds by which we would and can invest within the business. But ultimately, managing property is difficult. We know it's difficult. There has to be a balance in all of our investment criteria across the piece. Some of that balance is minimizing cost, and some of that cost is generating revenue that we need to spend to make sure that we can continue to offer the services that perhaps some people in central government are saying, let district councils do their own thing and we'll just take out £600,000 of that particular grant cost because at the end of the day, they don't fit into our political agenda. But what I can say, please, is very simple. We have a clear mission as a property team within the district, and that is spelt out very clearly within the vision and priorities. I don't think anyone in this room cannot say no to a mission who has a single purpose, which is to optimise our property estate to ensure it's safe to use, sustainable, financially efficient, and effectively fit for purpose, to ensure that our residents and our businesses needs are met through the provision of high quality services that meet the needs for all. And that is ultimately the pragmatic strategy that we are looking to adopt. I'm looking to build up the services. I'm looking to build up what we can do for our residents, rather than just knock it down. And I find it disappointing when people actually in authority think it's easier to knock things down rather than build things up.
Are there any more questions? Councillor Atterwill, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Wow, quite a lot to unpack there. Councillor Borrett is absolutely right that it is good to invest in property. It is good because it helps us with a lower council tax, and I don't think any reasonable person can deny that. I do have, based on lived experience in my parish, I do have some concerns about this document. I don't think it's prescriptive enough. I think it's in lots of areas, it's a bit of a word salad, to be honest. It's a like pick and mix, depending on how the cabinet member responsible for the portfolio feels on a day as to what he's going to do with particular property. In my parish, we have now been in discussion with the property team. This month is the 8th anniversary, trying to sort out land transfer in my parish. I don't know how many site meetings we've had with cabinet members, officers during that period. There doesn't seem to be any structure as to how property, I'm talking about open space provision in the parish, can be transferred in an open and transparent way. It seems to be done on a deal by deal basis based on how the cabinet member feels when he gets out of bed, is my opinion. I can't support this property strategy. I agree with buying property. I'm not happy with what's written in here about the disposal methods. And I do come back to what I said earlier on about the Abbey estate in Thetford. I do think there's an issue there in terms of, I think something should have been laid out about what we're doing to dispose of that land and the value of that land before we ever basically agree and talk to our so-called partners with Flagship and Norfolk County Council about a planning application. We've signed up to an agreement, but there doesn't seem to be anything in the public domain about exactly how much money taxpayers locally are going to realise. So I have issues with this document in terms of the disposal part of it. That's my concern. There's too much of this is done on a whim, and it's not prescriptive enough. I think parishes, not just mine, are very frustrated by that so-called process so far, and I think this document needs tightening up significantly in terms of the disposal. So I won't be supporting this on the disposal aspect of it. In general, I do support the idea of purchasing property and getting the revenue from that. I think it's a good thing. We have had some disasters like Barn and Broom over the years, which is still to be determined. But generally, that works. But the disposal strategy is very poor. I think that needs rewriting and needs to be much more prescriptive. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Atwell. Any more questions? Councillor Taylor again, please.
Thank you. I'm curious that my saying that I welcome this, but I think that one additional thing would be helpful was met so defensively. Councillor Hewitt, in your response, you mentioned a matrix which would be used to help inform property purchases. I can't find that in any of the appendices. Could you please direct me to those? There's lots around performance, sort of metrics and the sort of KPIs in terms of reviewing, but I can't see anything which relates to making decisions around purchases. Thanks.
Councillor Hewitt.
Thank you, and I'll come back on both. Firstly, I will point out the matrix to you after this meeting. To Councillor Atterwell's point, we need to be very kind of quite clear. Roger, yeah, I've been speaking to you for a while, and as mentioned earlier on, it's important to manage realistic and unrealistic expectations. There's a term I see quite a lot in the press at the moment. So let's just manage realistic and unrealistic expectations. And I love the fact that you're supporting us buying things, but not supporting us selling things, which is a bit weird because after a while we just run out of money. My challenge really to you is quite straightforward. We are not looking and have never looked for a prescriptive framework that says if we meet that criteria, we can tick that box. If we don't meet that criteria, we don't. That type of framework is simply not agile or flexible enough to do what we need to be able to do, to react to changes as they come forward. I'm always concerned when somebody with an interest on taking over land where they want it for free, always, in order for them to do whatever they like with it, maybe to build on it. But I'm always concerned when somebody wants to take over land for free to use the justification that elsewhere in the district, we're transferring land potentially for free. I always think there's a kind of bit of a vested interest in that, but that's perhaps for other people to determine. What we're looking for is a flexible and an agile framework that is prescribed sufficiently with oversight sufficiently in place, built in within the framework, not for the executive members to do whatever they like, but for everyone to understand why we are doing what we are doing and the benefits to our residents in doing so.
Councillor Atwell, is it something that, to carry on this? Because I've got Councillor Borrett as well with another question.
Yeah. Just to clarify, I'm not criticising disposing of assets. I'm criticising the strategy, or I perceive lack of, in this document for disposal of those assets. In terms of wanting something for free, I will just point out that in my particular parish, we've reached the end of our tether. So what we've done is we've instructed the district valuer to value all the pieces of land that Breckland own in Swanton Morley, because I'm tired of the, well, we might transfer or we want some money, but we don't know how much. So the district valuer will come back and will value those pieces of land. Swanton Morley Parish Council will no doubt put that in the public domain, and that will be a transparent process. So I'm not looking for something for nothing. What I am looking for is for somebody in the council to make some decisions against a clear set of criteria, and that's what's been lacking so far.
And if I could just come back, absolutely. And we've been talking to you, of course, recently. We've been also talking to your parish council recently. The interesting thing, as some of those conversations, that the parish council were not aware of the conversations that you were having. On occasions, you were not aware that the parish council was having separate conversations.
I think the answer is keep talking. Councillor Borrett.
Thank you. Everybody else seems to have come back. I thought I might as well, but I hadn't planned to speak again. But I think it is important to reflect. History has shown that the public sector has not been terribly good at managing private businesses, and the litany of nationalised companies that have performed appallingly is immense. And a lot of that is the way that people choose to tie up the decision making in businesses where you need to be fleet of foot. And property is absolutely one of those where you have to go where the opportunities are. You can't plan it and organise it in advance to such a way. Things come up and an opportunity is this piece of land or this site or this shed has come on the market tomorrow, or there is an opportunity because somebody's died, or business has gone out of business, or there's some land become available. And the success of our property team over the years delivering value for the residents of Breckland has been precisely this. It's because it has been fleet of foot. and it has gone where the opportunities are. And the business that we talked about, the site that Breckland, the council agreed to purchase, and it was a full council decision. So it's not as if we sign this off and things never come back to full council. Was this opportunity has arisen, will full council back us? And thank goodness that all of the Conservative members did, and that we have an opportunity to safeguard that site and all the jobs that go with it, so that which was a risk that the people, the company that was in it, would move outside of Breckland because it wasn't available. So that is why I am nervous about us saying we need 10 more pages of criteria for various decisions. And if it's a big enough decision, it comes back to us anyway, and that's been demonstrated recently. So once again, I say it is important that we support this, because without this, we are not going to be able to deliver the value through our property portfolio, and that is absolutely crucial to Breckland meeting its objectives. So once again, I say we should support this.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor again. I hope it's something new.
Yeah, well, just to reiterate, so I think Councillor Attwill and myself are offering these suggestions because there has been, totally take your point, Councillor Borrett, around the need to respond to market circumstances, but there has been a long list of issues and concerns raised by local residents recently, whether it relates to murals or Barn and Broom or the app, car parking, green spaces. There is a growing concern around a lack of transparency. So Councillor Attwill and I have raised concerns, and they're constructive, I believe, because we've also both said that we welcome this policy, which would actually increase transparency in decision making, because the public would have sight of what that test looks like. We're being asked to vote on something. I know, Councillor Hewitt, you said you'd direct me to the matrix after the council, but if I'm to vote on it, I need to know where that matrix on decision making is, because I can't see it in the document. So if you could please do that now, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Councillor Wickerson, please.
Excuse me, sorry. Thank you, Chair. I think probably the answer to the question is in the paperwork, and I missed that. I'm looking at Appendix 4, and I've read through all of the bits and pieces of 15 pages worth of stuff at the end of the presentation, and I see that we are going to have a property working group that will meet on a regular basis to consider any matter that they that they want to review. I'm concerned about the makeup of that particular group. I see the members will include, and there's a list of 8 managers who are, officers, deputy chief executive, etc., etc. Is that working group going to involve members of sitting around the table today in terms of councillors? Thank you.
I can reassure you, Councillor, in part, that member oversight, whilst it remains, but not member diktat, will not. And that perhaps is reassuring Councillor Attwill as well about which side of the bed I get out of in the morning. I won't have a direct impact. Neither will any executive member in this place. Neither actually will this council, I think, directly outside of an oversight, will have a precise diktat in terms of one investment strategy over another, and so on and so forth. It's left at the end of the day to the experts to decide.
If there are no further questions, there is. Yep, Councillor Plummer, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we're getting close to Christmas, can I put a little bit more joy into this conversation? One of my parishes had a piece of land which belonged to Breckland. It was offered to the parish at a reasonable rate, but the parish decided that no, they didn't want it. So with all good reason, the council put it up for auction. Now, it made quite a lot of money, and I have spoken to the people who have dealt with this, and they have said that they may be able to find money for the parish. Now, I don't know what Roger has done, but I found that if you talk to the people and say, look, we've got a piece of land, what was Breckland's, they said, yes, we'll offer it to the parish council at a reasonable rate, but the parish council said, no, they didn't want any more. They've got enough to look after. So it went to auction and made a reasonable sum. Now, I've been told that we may be able to have some of that money come back to the parish. So as I can see it, if you go about this process right, you can help the parish, but the parish doesn't have to pay anything for that. So there is a balancing act here, and it's easy to keep saying, oh, well, this land should be free. But I've yet to find anybody who'll give their garden free or a piece of land free to anybody. And that the answer to this is that if you talk to the right people at the right time, there is a benefit for everybody, including the parishes. Thank you.
Yep, Councillor Cowan, please.
Thank you, Chairman, and fellow members. What an interesting discussion we're having. Speaking to you with my finance hat on, we are charged, and I stress that, we are charged as a council for achieving best value, whether we buy or whether we sell. And that is enshrined in this document. Best value can mean a range of things, as you've heard my colleague on my left describe earlier. Best value can include actual pound notes. It can include benefits for the community. It can include a mixture of both. And that's what this document is intended to provide. And please let us not forget that this sort of debate that we're having right now should be held, frankly, in the scrutiny meetings. And this particular paper was taken to scrutiny, it was debated, and it was agreed. And I find it a little strange that having had that public debate in scrutiny about a document which is of such importance to this council, that we get all these questions raised now. The time for those questions and the serious debate was at scrutiny. It really was. And just to finalise that, again with my finance hat on, Councillor Borrett behind me just mentioned in passing that it brings in more money than our council tax take. It's actually over £3 million a year. Our property portfolio returns £3 million to this council, and that money is called revenue. And that revenue enables us to pay our services across the district. And some of those services are statutory, some of them are what I would like to call discretionary. And those discretionary services are absolutely at the heart of what this council does. It supports rural business, it supports towns, it supports vulnerable people in society. And unless our property team have the ability to respond quickly, and I stress the word quickly, to opportunities that come to market so that we can get best value out of them, either by purchasing or selling, then the risk is that the income we receive from our property portfolio, I stress, is £3 million, will actually be reduced. And if that gets reduced, then we run the risk of having to look at very hard at the sort of services that we provide to those people in our district who are vulnerable, who need the support, the community groups in our communities, in the villages. It's not just the towns. Half of our population live in the rural areas. And you've heard earlier how this new budget that we've had presented to us by government is going to take £645,000 away from this council in terms of the rural support grant. £645,000. That has a huge impact on a rural district such as Breckland, 500 square miles. 500 square miles over which we have to deliver waste services, over which our officers have to travel in order to do their jobs. This particular property portfolio paper here, which looks at not just property, it's called an asset proposal deliberately, because assets are not just buildings, they're not just bricks and mortar. And I believe it's a huge step forward. It brings together finance, it brings together the communities that this council represents. It brings together all aspects and sews them into a document which this council, you members, have the opportunity to discuss when it comes before you at various opportunities. And I stress that the working group is a working group where we have to establish the sorts of individuals who will sit on that particular working group, but it does not preclude other members having a say. This council is an inclusive council. If you turn up at Cabinet to listen to Cabinet papers as a backbencher, you can have your say. If you turn up to scrutiny and you're not a member of the Scrutiny Commission, you can have your say. That is the whole point of this council. It is not a council where we try and hide things. Matters are brought to the attention of all members of this council, and this particular paper that we have before us has been through that rigorous process. Chairman, I think I've probably said enough, but I will wrap up at that point. I am very disappointed to hear the debate we've had. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Atterwell.
Thank you for that. I'm sorry to hear that Councillor Cowan thinks that I can't exercise my democratic right in this chamber to ask questions on the subject matter, bearing in mind that there are most of the members in this chamber, most of the members. I'm coming to it.
But just calm down a bit, please.
Most of the members in here are not members of Overview and Scrutiny. I would just like to say, I think Councillor Plummer has rather made my point for me, where he said, and I quote, you need to speak to the right people at the right time. And I take on board what Councillor Cowan is saying about the parlour state of the council's finances and the need to maximise return. So on that basis, there still isn't anything in this document. If you want to dispose of open space from which this district owns, there isn't nothing in here to say. Our strategy is we will have a valuation done on that open space as open space, and it will first be offered to the parishes, and then beyond that, we'll put it out to the market. There's nothing in there about that. It is still very much have a conversation with somebody, and they'll decide whether they want to give it away for nothing or whether, how much they're going to charge. I'd like to see some transparency around that. I hear what you're saying about the flexibility in terms of purchasing property, but we are talking about taxpayers' money. This is not a private business. This is taxpayers' money that belongs to all the taxpayers and residents of this district. So we do have to be very sure on the transparency aspect of this. That's my concern with this document. It doesn't provide that level of transparency. I would like to see the text tightened up. That's my view. That's my democratic right to say that in this chamber.
Thank you. I think if there's no more, Councillor Askew, please. Yeah, I was just going to say if there are no more questions, we will take the vote. Right, you've heard the recommendation.
Can I clarify one point of the recommendation, Chair, with your permission? The recommendation is very clear, but equally, perhaps just to assuage some of the commentators in this room, the recommendation is to include the expression to update the document as required. So I'm delighted that if members are saying we agree with the principle, but there's a couple of bits of wordings that we need to do, they should support it. Thank you very much indeed for your support.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Can we have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Borrett was the first hand up. All those in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Thank you. That's a good debate. Right, so that brings us on to item 11, nominations for other committee seats. Councillor Suggett.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just make one swap on the Norfolk Armed Forces Covenant Board, that Councillor Paul Clausen becomes the member on that board and Councillor Alison Webb becomes the substitute. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cogman.
Yeah, a swap also for Sarah Taylor to become the member on planning and Chris Harvey to become the substitute.
Thank you. Councillor Atterwill? Nothing. Right, any amendments to the Constitution? I don't think we have any. So there are no urgent items. So with that, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a happy, prosperous New Year. And I'll see you outside to raise a glass to each other in friendship.